and the profit that they make in that transaction, they would put it in the Treasury account at the Fed, and it would be Federal Reserve note 780 billion, and the government could do whatever it wants with that. They could build a sovereign wealth fund, which I don't agree with. I don't think government has any. It's not the government's business to manage the money of a country. It's for each individual to manage his own money, but be as it may, that's what would happen. Friday, May 9th, 2025, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, is President Trump going to a pawn shop to pawn America's gold? Yes, that's what revaluation is all about, and that's what we're going to talk about today, and what it would mean. And we also going to touch upon a precedent. It's been done before. And before we go further, though, just wanted to thank all of you for your interest in the channel. I see, though, through the analytics of the YouTube studio that I have access to, that almost half of you watch my videos but don't subscribe. So yeah, I mean, thanks again for watching, but it does help if you subscribe with the algorithms. It would probably make YouTube push my videos more, and that's always a good thing to get this message of contrarian views and alternative economics across. What does the alternative economics really mean? And I haven't refreshed on that. Well, it means that we believe in self-reliance, small government, and freedom and free markets, no monopolies like central banks or anything else, very little government interference in the economy, even though what we're going to talk about today, unfortunately, is about government interference. And before we go further, just wanted to show you where Rudy is. Well, here's Rudy. He's behind me in his bed right now. So that's where he's hanging out. He's not allowed on the sofas in the living room. That's why you won't be able to see him. So there you go. Rudy is around. So let's start with the precedent for gold revaluation. And why is it like going to a pawn shop? Well, because America's gold is held by the Treasury, supposedly at Fort Knox, West Point, and I think in Colorado. But the Federal Reserve has like a claim to it, because a lot of the gold was taken from the American public through the executive order in 1933 that FDR passed, that you needed to hand in your gold and they would pay you with paper. It wasn't like technically a confiscation, and it was voluntary. Of course, there was if you didn't do it and you had more than the maximum that you could have, you could be fined $10,000. Well, and that gold flowed into the Federal Reserve banks, and they gave it to the Treasury. But the Fed has the gold certificates as a claim. And at the time, gold was $20.67 an ounce in 1933. But then by the end of January 1934, the Gold Reserve Act of 1934 was passed, and there was a revaluation of the price of gold, so a devaluation of the currency from $20.67 to $35. And the gold certificates were issued at that price to the Federal Reserve, but the difference between $20.67 and 35, that profit was sent to the Treasury by the Fed. The Fed just printed Federal Reserve notes, as they usually do, and sent it to the Treasury. And that money or that currency was used to fund the New Deal and government spending, because that was the new thing, Keynesian economics and government interference, right? Socialism, that's what it was. And if you look at the Dow from like 1932, when it bottomed in July of 32 to 1937, you can see that it actually it went up fourfold, almost fivefold, like from 40 to 200. And if you look at it, as of January 1934, it was trading around 100. It did drift lower, but eventually it started picking up in 1935. So a lot of that government spending from this revaluation went into the economy, and there was a bit of a lag. It didn't happen right away, but the economy picked up, the stock market picked up. Of course, then it corrected because it wasn't really a healthy kind of growth. So that's the precedent. It's been done before. So the Gold Reserve Act of 1934, that's the precedent. So, of course, back in the 70s, the statutory gold price, that's what it's called, $35, it was set in 1934, and it stayed there till 1972, and they revalued it to 38, and then in 73 they revalued it again to the present statutory price, which is $42.22. It's a little more, it's 42.2222. And those gold certificates are still at the Federal Reserve, but they're valued at around $11 billion. So the way it would work now, it would be the same way President Trump, Congress, they would pass something like the Gold Reserve Act. And I think there's legislation about a Bitcoin reserve that I think Senator Loomis put through into Congress. It hasn't been passed, but there's a clause there on page 12, I think, that allows Congress to revalue the price of gold so that they can buy Bitcoin maybe and other cryptos and other things. So that's how it would work. It would be really easy. And why would President Trump want to do this? And of course, it's nothing about free markets, nothing about what I believe in. But the reason we're talking about this is because it's going to affect the gold price. And hopefully you've been stacking gold, or hopefully you're going to think about buying gold. And if you do, don't forget to check out my affiliates in the US. It's Miles Franklin, and in the UK it's Gold Investments. All the details are below in the description. And why would the price of gold go up even more? Because it's been going up a lot since the year 2000. Well, because a revaluation, let's say to $3,000 an ounce, would put a floor on the price of gold, because that's what the government would value gold at. Just like it put a floor on gold in the 70s when they raised the statutory price. It never went back to 42. And at 3,000, that would mean a windfall for the Treasury of around 780 billion or so. So how would that work, that process of the 780 billion? Well, the Treasury would basically write new gold certificates for the Federal Reserve, and the gold would be valued at 780 billion on their balance sheet, and minus the 11 billion, the difference between 4222 and 3000, and the profit that they make in that transaction, they would put it in the Treasury account at the Fed, and it would be Federal Reserve note 780 billion, and the government could do whatever it wants with that. They could build a sovereign wealth fund, which I don't agree with. I don't think government has any. It's not the government's business to manage the money of a country. It's for each individual to manage his own money, but be as it may, that's what would happen. And I think from what we've been seeing, the Trump administration would invest heavily in natural resources and extracting, developing mines and other things, Bitcoin as well, even though I don't agree with that either. So that money could be put to work, just like FDR put the windfall from the Gold Reserve Act to work. And it was also, they also created a fund called the Exchange Stabilization Fund with that profit from revaluation. So they, as I said, there is a precedent for a fund. It won't be called the Exchange Stabilization Fund, but it will be called the Sovereign Wealth Fund. And then you can calculate, for example, if we do it at $3,500, the revaluation, that would mean about 900 billion really net profit that would be sent to the Treasury's account with the Federal Reserve. That's a bit more. And why do that? Well, because the debt is getting big, financing it's getting tougher. So this would be an easy way to spend money, and I think it would be inflationary, just like it was in the mid-30s there, despite the fact that after 1937-38 it kind of went downhill. But I think it will be different this time because we've had so much inflation anyway. We haven't had really the deflationary depression. And why is it like a pawning operation? Well, the Treasury is taking its gold to the Fed and saying, look, where do you value this now? How much can you give me for this? And that's what happens. And it leaves those gold certificates there as a proof that it's been pawned. I think the gold has been used in the last 50 years, not to help the economy or the American public. It's been held there to help Wall Street, to keep the price of gold down and to keep the fiat currency Ponzi scheme going. So I think it would totally change things. And of course, this is just speculation on my part, but it could be an easy way for the administration to stimulate the economy, seeing that the Federal Reserve is not wanting to play ball in terms of cutting rates. And I'm also neutral about that. I personally think there shouldn't be a central bank or a Federal Reserve for that matter, but that's a different topic. So that's how gold revaluation would work. Is that the reason why I've been stacking gold for so long? Because I expected something like this? No, not really. The reason to have gold and silver is to protect yourself from inflation. And by inflation, I mean government spending, central bank printing. That's all going to continue one way or another, even if the Fed is playing hardball right now. The revaluation would change all that and would inflate things even more. Maybe it's Trump's big announcement. Supposedly he's going to make a big announcement before he goes to the Middle East next week. I could be wrong, but who knows? So it's 8:02 a.m. You've noticed Clive is not on this Friday because we got the builders coming in and it's going to be too noisy to do the interview. But he will be on Sunday for the live stream. Yeah, so the markets, where are we? Well, yesterday the stock market rallied strongly after Trump said you need to buy stocks, which is weird for markets to react like that. But yeah, we'll have to see. Right now, the stock markets are actually unchanged. The futures, 8:02 a.m. London, of course. Gold was very volatile again and continues to be volatile. Right now we're up $21 at 33.26. The high's been 30 and the low 32.74. Silver, that's only up 6 cents at 32.50. High's been 58.5 and the low has been 32.20. One thing I noticed yesterday that isn't really healthy for the financial system is that the treasury yields went up quite a bit. Like the 10-year yield was up almost 12 basis points. Right now it's unchanged at 437, and the 30-year was up about 6. It's at 483. Why is that important? Well, because if these yields continue to go higher, it's going to make the cost of financing higher, not just for Uncle Sam, but for Wall Street, for consumers, for everyone. And as we know, we live in a highly financialized and leveraged economy, not just in the US, but in the UK. Yes, the Bank of England cut rates yesterday. They're going to keep inflating here. I've heard that the regulators are going to take out most of the regulations pertaining to taking on a mortgage. So they want another housing boom. They want more inflation. Another reason why things are going to get more and more expensive. And the currency is going to continue to go down. So yeah, keep an eye on treasury yields. And I suspect they went up because Trump was very bullish. He said the economy is going to do great. You need to buy stocks. And at the same time, he wants Powell to cut rates. So figured that one out. Yeah, with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good weekend. Take care. Bye.